Happy Sabbath. I'd like to start out with prayer. Dear Lord, I ask that you come before us this morning, and I ask that you send your Holy Spirit and speak through me. Help us all to get a blessing out of your word today. In your name, amen. Facing anything and trusting him. What is faith? Let's go to Hebrews 11:1. Tells us in Hebrews 11:1 what faith is. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So, faith is something we can't see. But when we put our trust and believe in God, he's capable to do anything. And if we just trust in him, we have faith that he's going to do what he says he does. He's going to. When I was younger, faith was a simple concept to me. I mean, when I was younger, I looked up to my parents. And if they said they were going to do something, I believed them, that it was going to happen. It's the same way with God. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So why should I have to worry about it? You know, as I've grown up, for some odd reason, it seems harder than just, God says he's going to do it, it's going to happen. Sometimes we as humans, I know, me personally, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But, we all seem to have doubt about what God's going to do. And if he's really there. We go through hard times, but those hard times give us more faith. Let's go to Matthew 17:20 and see what Jesus says about faith. When we go through hard times, we have to trust and believe in God that he's going to get us through it. We might not feel like God is there, but religion and having a walk with God isn't about feelings. We have to go off of what he says. He's always there. He's never going to leave us. And we just have to believe that. Even though we don't feel like he's there and we feel like we are the only ones going through something hard, he's still there. It's not about feelings. Sometimes, I don't feel like going out and knocking on doors because I'm a shy person. It takes a lot for me to step out and go and talk to someone I don't know at all. Even coming down here to Texas, it was a huge leap out of my comfort zone. But sometimes we just have to say, yes, Lord, I'm willing to let you use me. Even though I don't feel like doing this, I'm still going to say yes because I know you're there. That's faith. It says in Matthew 17:20, Jesus said to them, because of your unbelief, for assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Has anyone in here seen a mustard seed? How big is it? It's tiny. So tiny, you can't even really, if I had it in my hand up here, you wouldn't be able to see it, right? Jesus says if we have just that much faith, he can do great things with us. Just because we have a little bit of faith doesn't mean we can't do what God asks us to do, because he's our strength and he can get us through anything. Mustard seeds are small, but they grow to be 10 to 15-foot trees. That's pretty big for just a tiny seed. That's how our faith is. We just trust in God and let Him lead. And us going through hard times gives us just a little more faith to keep moving on. Watching other people go through things and seeing how they trust in God also helps us. It encourages us. Sharing with people around us, our brothers and sisters in Christ, it encourages each one of us to get out there and talk to people we wouldn't normally talk to by ourselves. Just because you're a shy person doesn't mean you can't do great things for God. Letting Him lead and work in your life, He can do wonderful things that you wouldn't even imagine you could do. I want to go to a story about a person who we wouldn't think was the greatest person ever, and who we would think would be at the bottom. But you know, we're all human, we're not perfect, and we all make mistakes. But this person, she wasn't one of God's chosen people. She wasn't an Israelite. She didn't come out of Egypt. But yet she saw how God led the children of Israel and how He did so many miracles for them. And she had faith and believed in Him, even though she wasn't part of that. Let's go to Joshua 2. The story is about Rahab. We all know that she was a harlot and prostitute, and she wasn't thought highly of. She sinned, and she led a lifestyle that wasn't glorifying to God. But she heard about the children of Israel and how God had led them. Around this time, Joshua sent 2 spies into Jericho, and they came to the home of Rahab. Rahab brought them in, she fed them, and the king heard about this. He wasn't too happy that there were spies coming into his city, searching out the land, seeing what was happening there. Well, he sent some of his servants over to talk to Rahab and take the spies away. When they get there, Rahab tells them, yeah, there were men here, but I don't know where they were from. And they went on their way. But she helped them. She took them up to her roof and hid them. Starting in verse 9 of chapter 2, and said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea, and you, when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, and were on the other side of the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. So she had heard the wonderful miracles that God did, and she believed that they were going to take over Jericho. She didn't know how it was going to happen, but she knew that the city wasn't going to last. And then it goes on in verse 11. And as soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted. Neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you. For the Lord your God, He is God, and in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now therefore, I beg you, swear to me by the Lord, since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house and give me a true token. So what she was asking was that they would spare her and her family's lives. It says in verse 13, to spare her father's life, her mother and her brothers, her sisters, and all that they had, and deliver their lives from death. She just had a little bit of faith that God would spare them, because she believed, she had seen all these miracles. Even though they didn't happen to her, she saw what God was doing for the children of Israel, and it touched her. It melted their hearts. It showed her that God cares. In verse 14, it says, so the men answered her, our lives for yours, if none of you tell this business of ours. And it shall be, when the Lord has given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall. She dwelt on the wall, and she said to them, get to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you. Hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. Afterward you may go your way. So the men said to her, we will be blameless of this oath of yours, which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land, you bind this line of scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you bring your father, your mother, your brothers, and all your father's household to your home. So it shall be that whoever goes outside the doors of your house into the city, his blood shall be on his own head. And we will be guiltless, and whoever is with you in the house, his blood shall be on your head, if a hand is laid on him. And if you tell this business of ours, then we will be free from your oath which you have made us swear. Then she said according to her words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed. And she bound the scarlet cord in the window. So there was this agreement going on. And they said, as long as you hang this scarlet cord out the window, you'll be safe. It was a sign of faith. She did it because she knew that if she did, God would save her. She didn't know how, but she would be saved along with her family, as long as they were in her house. Sometimes we don't understand what God asks us to do, and sometimes we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes we don't ever think there's anything at the end of the tunnel except a drop off. But in my personal life, I've seen God work so many times in just little things. When we first moved to Montana, I was 9. We didn't have very much money, and we didn't know anyone. We did lots of praying and asking God to bless us and, just be there for us. We would be almost out of food, and sometimes we would have beans and rice or lentils, like days after days after days. I still love beans and rice, by the way, so it was all good. But when we had potluck or we would go over to someone's house, they're like, we this last week we got way too much lentils or beans. Why don't you take some? And it just held us over until the next time. We didn't have to worry about where our food was coming from. We just trusted God and let Him guide us. And I've seen so many times where we have had a ton of people for potluck, and there's only been a few dishes of food, and it's gone a long ways. It's seriously multiplied, and everyone's satisfied. They've gone back for seconds and thirds. And it's so cool to see how God, He really cares about what our needs are. The birds don't have to worry about where their food's coming next. God takes care of them. He cares about the birds. We're so much more in His eyes. He cares about us too. We don't have to worry about where our food's coming from, or where money for gas, or all these other things. It seems very little when somebody who doesn't have very much. But God blesses us. Even though we don't have extra money to spend, it's just enough to get us what we need. He really cares about each one of us. And we all know the story. We all know the rest of the story of Rahab, where when they came back and they marched around the city, they were saved after the walls fell down. Everyone in her family who was in her house was saved. Sometimes when we're asked to do something and we're like, God, I don't think I can do that. And we struggle with it sometimes. It's like we're doubting that God can get us through it. And a lot of the time, it's like we're getting taken out of our comfort zone. But He's always there. We can always lean on Him and just believe what He's saying is true. Coming out here, I was kind of hesitant about saying, yes, Lord, I'm willing to come out. I struggled with it for like 2 weeks, if not longer. And finally, I was waking up about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I started praying. I prayed for 45 minutes. And by the time I was done praying, I'm like, Lord, okay, I'm willing. Just give me peace if this is really what you want. Instantly, He gave me peace that this is what He wanted. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'll be a Bible worker. I don't know when, where, but I'm willing to be a Bible worker. I'm like, but you have to do something. You have to bring the person to me and ask me to work. I'm not going to go looking for a job. For one, I didn't really know where to start. And for two, I was still a little hesitant, even though I was at peace about being a Bible worker. About a week later, I was asked if I would be willing to come down here and work for the summer. I'm like, okay, Lord, I will. And, it was a leap of faith. I couldn't just, step 1 foot out, because if I did that, I'd be more inclined to come back into my comfort zone. I had to jump in with both feet and be 100% in, because if I had any time to even think about it, I'd start doubting. How am I going to get there? What am I going to drive when I get down there? How is this all going to go together? But it all fell into place. And that's how we have to be. We have to jump in when God asks us to do something and try not to doubt. We have to pray that He gives us that faith. Even though our faith is small, like a mustard seed, it can grow. But any little thing. When I was 7 or 8, we were doing some errands around town, and it was a Friday afternoon, and we had one last stop. It was a hardware store, and it's about an hour and a half before sundown. We had to get home, put groceries away, take care of all that. And we get in the car, and it won't start. And so my mom gets out, and she opens the hood of the car. She's checking to see what's wrong, and it's like there's nothing wrong. She can't find the problem. She calls my dad. He doesn't know what's going on. And we're there for about 15 minutes. And I had this Bible verse pop into my head saying, God cares about you. And, just having a little bit of faith, He can do anything. So, as a little kid, if God said it, it's true. So I get in the backseat of the car and I start praying. I'm like, dear Lord, please, we need to get home and get this stuff taken care of before Sabbath, because it's really important to be home and have everything done before Sabbath. And Mom's worried, please help us. Send someone to help us get the car started. I get done praying, and less than a minute later, this guy comes walking up, huge cowboy hat, tall, and he's like, do you need any help? And Mom's like, yeah, we do. We can't get the car started. We don't know what's going on. So he takes a look, he does something, she tries to turn it on, and it starts. And of course, I didn't tell my mom that I was praying in the back seat, but as a 7-8-year-old, I was so excited. Jesus had just answered my prayer, not even like a minute after I had asked. And that gave me just a little more faith, It was something that encouraged me. Well, I told Mom that I had prayed, and she's like, well, go tell the guy thank you. You don't ever send a 7-8-year-old child into a store without an adult to go tell some random stranger thank you. Well, there's only one way in. There's only one door into this store. And I go in, and I'm looking around. It's kind of a small store, and I can't find the guy anywhere. And he like just disappeared. And I come back out, I'm like, Mom, he's not in there. And she's like, he has to be. He just went in there. Never saw the guy again. How incredible is God? He cares about the little things, even when we're still little. We have to be like little children and have faith like the little children. When their parents tell them that something's going to happen, they believe them, because everything that they've said, we're going to go to the park, or something special like that, it's always happened before. And we have to have that faith. And God will make it grow in any situation. Sometimes, like I said, it's hard to see what's at the end, but He's always there, and we just need to take His word for it. And having that relationship with Him, studying His word, helps us in the hard times. Sometimes we talk to our friends more than we talk to God about our problems. And it's nice to have someone to talk to who's in person, who's sitting right there, who understands everything you're saying. But you know, God, He's our Father. He knows what we're going through. Jesus came here and died for us. He went through everything. He knows what it's like when someone dies or leaves the church. He understands what we're going through. And we can always turn to Him. Having that walk with Him, having that relationship with Him is the most important thing. Just like Rahab, she wasn't one of the chosen by coming out of Egypt or anything like that, but God still cared about her. She was like one of the worst sinners ever, but you know, we're not much different. I'm not much different. We're all sinners, and when you really think about it, it's like, how can God love us? But He loved us so much that Jesus gave His life for us. How can we doubt what He's gonna say, what He says, and what He's gonna do? Yeah, it's hard. It really is. But just having a little bit of faith, saying, you know, I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't know when or where. But I believe that God is there and He cares about me. He cares about the little things. And He wants each one of us to come closer to Him so that we can all go to heaven with Him. When I'm going door to door, I don't know who's on the other side of that door. I don't know what they need to hear. I don't know their life story. I don't know how to reach them. But I believe that God's there. He's sent His angels to be with me, to protect me whenever I go door to door. You know, I can't see them. I can't see my guardian angel, but I know He's there. And I know He's going with me each step of the way. This one lady asked me, it was about 8:15 at night, around 8:30, I guess, and the sun was starting to go down. It was the last house, and I started asking her if she wanted Bible studies and stuff. She's like, you know, I can't right now. My husband just got home from the hospital. I have to take care of him. It's, you know, I don't have much time to do anything else. Like, okay. She's like, are you out here by yourself? I'm like, yeah. She's like, you're going door to door by yourself. I'm like, yeah. She's like, aren't you scared? Aren't you scared of like who's on the other side of the door? I'm like, no. She's like, why? I'm like, because God sent His angels to watch out for me. It doesn't matter what happens to me when I'm here. I mean, if someone brought a gun out to me and said, get off my property, why are you here? You know, I would tell them why I was there. And if I got shot, I got shot. It might be scary, but why should I worry? I know what I'm gonna see next if I die. Having a little bit of faith going door to door, you know, it grows. It really grows. Like each door I go to, it's like, you're with me, God. I can feel it. I don't know, you know, people slam the door in my face, but I don't take it personal anymore because it's God they're closing the door on. So I just challenge you or, leave this last thought with you today. Keep God first, and even though you have just a little bit of faith, see what God can do with it. Just like a mustard seed, it grows into a 10 to 15 foot tree. That's a lot. And He can grow our faith even more. I ask that you guys spend more time in His Word. Take what He has to say and let your faith grow. See, Lord, I don't know what you have for my plans in the future, but stretch me. Because each time He stretches us, it's character building, and He's molding us into the person He wants us to be. And it's not just for us, but it's for people around us. Because when we do character building like that, He works through us, and people want what we have. Even though He asks us to do something outside our comfort zone, I challenge you to jump in with both feet 100% and let Him work. And see how God uses you. Because a year ago, I would have never thought that I'd be here in front of you guys. I hope you have a wonderful Sabbath day. God bless.
Should we stand as we sing? Love divine, all love's excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down, fixed in us thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies crown. Jesus, thou art all compassion, pure abounding love thou art. Visit us with thy salvation, enter every trembling heart. Finish them thy new creation, pure and spotless let us be. Let us see thy great salvation, perfectly restored in thee. Changed from glory into glory, till in heaven we take our place, till we cast our crowns before thee, lost in wonder, love, and praise.
Dear Lord, I ask that you be with each one of us as we leave here. Even though we're leaving here, I ask that you continue to be with us. Wherever we may go and whatever we may do, I ask that you send your Holy Spirit and shine through us. Help others to see what you're doing in our lives, and help us to be a witness for you. And please guide and direct us. Please give us just a little bit of faith to keep moving on. Please grow our faith and help us not to doubt. I ask that you be with each one here as we leave. Thank you for everything that you do. And I ask that you be with us. Ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Love divine, all love's excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down, fixed
house, thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies crown.